as the market is concerned, closing barely in the positive this afternoon. Remember, it followed a very good run in world markets over the last few days. I want to get some commentary from Martin Smith, a market analyst. Martin, thanks indeed for talking to us. So we closed pretty much flat this afternoon, but it's been a really good run on the markets over the last few days. I'm wondering, just very quickly, tell us what's been driving that.
No, you're absolutely right, Evan. I think you've seen some risk sentiments kind of come back on board. You've seen we're about 25 to 30% of our way through S&P 500 earnings season in the States, and most of the companies have surprised on the upside. So I think that's quite positive from that aspect. You have seen a little bit of a sell-off out of the news from China on the weekend, a couple of concerns there. So you have seen some China-specific stocks sell off, but also rebound quite nicely throughout the week. But as you mentioned, you've seen some nice risk appetites, and global markets are at least ticking up for now, although volatility has been quite scary this year.
So what, more than 24 hours since we've heard from the finance minister yesterday on South Africa's financial position in form of the midterm budget. Martin, it's quite interesting that when the budget was just sort of, parts of the budget were released by the finance minister, you had a good showing, a good reaction from the rand. And you also bonds. These are two sort of fundamental elements where you can gauge how overseas investors are feeling about certain circumstances in South Africa. In this case, the medium-term budgets. Just tell us a little bit about that, our bonds and our local currency. What was the reaction?
Yeah, Devin, you're 100% right. There are quite nice barometers for sentiment towards the country. You do obviously have global factors and global sentiment that play into those positions as well. So we need to kind of bring that into the equation, specifically when you've got so many overhangs at the moment. But on the face of it, you saw quite a nice uptick in our bond market. Our bond market was a lot firmer on the back of the news that we saw yesterday. And I think it's just a bit more confidence around the kind of stability of South Africa and how our kind of debt and GDP equation is looking. You also saw the rand a little bit stronger, but I also have to caveat that with you've seen a slightly weaker dollar, which has been pretty bulletproof the last couple of weeks and months. So on the whole, quite a positive statement. And it has filtered through, like you said, into bonds and into our currency, but also globally, the sentiment is a little bit better as well this week.
It's interesting. I mean, there was a lot said about state-owned enterprises. In some cases, a bit more specifics were needed, like that of Eskom. But let's talk about Transnet here, because Transnet now been given, a total of 5.8 billion rand yesterday by the finance minister. And it's incidental that you have Kumba Iron Ore coming out today saying they are forecasting lower exports because the railway system, again, is bringing things down.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the number was about 30 billion to SOEs. And your point around Eskom also very valid. A little bit of clarity missing from some of the stuff there. And kind of going back to your point on Transnet, yes, absolutely. It filtered through into those Kumba update that we saw today. They're saying that the volumes are going to be 6% lighter this year on the back of a couple of things, but predominantly the strikes out of Transnet. So that's obviously quite negative for them. You also saw them speaking about input costs also going up. So on the whole, quite a negative update from Kumba. Share price reacting, as you would expect, down about 6% on the day. It probably makes it a little bit more attractive now. I think you've seen iron ore going from kind of $230 a ton last year to call it 88 at the moment, which is, I think, a little bit more sustainable. And the fall we've seen today makes it a little bit cheaper as well. So some people are starting to get a little bit more bullish on Kumba. I'm still happy to kind of be on the sidelines for now.
And then just finally, before I let you go, Tongaat, I mean, what a stormy few years it's been for this company. And now we see news surfacing that, look, we hit that business rescue stage. What do you make of it?
Yeah, I think it's a bit sad, right? I mean, this is a stock that's kind of peaked at 170 odd a couple years ago. So, I mean, the fact that now that it's gone into business rescue, the kind of holding company level is obviously a bit sad. I think new management have come in, tried to do a few things. You've obviously had some unlucky kind of instances insofar as kind of the unrest we had in KZN, the flooding. You obviously also had quite a poor crop from a crop season from a sugar perspective. So there's been a couple of things that have gone against them. I think they are trying to turn things around still, selling off some core assets, but yeah, not looking great for for people who still hold some of the suspended shares, insofar as getting some value out of those.
All right, I'm going to leave it there. Market analyst Martin Smith, thanks very much indeed for talking to us.
Thank you.